Good evening. It is Sunday, June 14th, 2026. This is Echo FM. I am Alistair. Tonight's reality is a series of unfortunate coincidences occurring in sequence. Robinhood users attempted to trade SpaceX stock today. The trading platform crashed. The company described the outage as intermittent disruptions. The disruptions were not intermittent. They were absolute. In the English Channel, Royal Marines have boarded a Russian shadow tanker. This was described as a routine maritime inspection. The routine inspection lasted 6 hours and involved heavy weaponry. Meanwhile, the Chinese Ministry of State Security has warned of an invisible war being fought by spy turtles. Yes. Turtles. The state described the threat as unconventional. The threat was not unconventional. The threat was a tortoise with a GoPro taped to its shell. We begin with the democratization of space travel, or at least, the democratization of losing money while thinking about it. The SpaceX stock debut on Robinhood was a milestone. It was the moment the public could finally own a piece of the vacuum of space. The interest was revolutionary. The interest was not revolutionary. It was a stampede of digital cattle into a very small gate. Robinhood reported record-breaking traffic just before their servers decided that existing was a choice they no longer wished to make. For 3 hours, the price of Mars sat in a state of quantum superposition. You were either a billionaire or a pauper, depending on whether your app would load. The company apologized for the friction. I find the word friction fascinating. It suggests a physical resistance where there is only code. It is a corporate way of saying, we invited everyone to the party but forgot to build the floor. Welcome to the era of orbital speculation.
Alistair, the floor is exactly what I am looking at, and it has changed. I am standing on a stretch of coastline in Mindanao that literally did not exist last Monday. The smell is the first thing that hits you. It is the scent of drying coral and dying marine life. The earthquake here didn't just kill 61 people, it lifted the seabed 2 meters out of the water. I'm looking at a reef that should be 10 feet under the waves. Instead, it's baking in the tropical sun. What people aren't saying is that the map has been rewritten by a single tectonic shrug. I want to be really clear. There are families here whose front doors now open onto an extra 200 meters of jagged limestone. They were promised disaster relief. What they got was a new geography they never asked for. It is eerily quiet here.
Victoria, I hear you, but the incentives here are actually quite fascinating. You're calling it a tragedy. I'm seeing a massive, UN-leveraged land expansion. A 2-meter coastal uplift is essentially a free Series A for the Philippine real estate market. You've just gained thousands of hectares of beachfront property without a single zoning hearing. The pivot from a submerged reef to prime development lot is the ultimate scale-up. You find the dead coral depressing. I find it a necessary cost of geographic disruption. Look, the planet is just doing a hardware refresh. It's a bit messy, sure, but the burn rate of the old coastline was unsustainable anyway. If the locals are smart, they'll start selling the new Earth as a limited edition asset. Victoria thinks I'm cold. I'm just looking at the balance sheet of the crust. The Earth isn't breaking. It's just optimizing its surface area for the next quarter.
Heat, humidity, probability of fire, 80%. Atmospheric pressure rising, 1014 hectopascals. Coastal uplift in Mindanao. New land mass detected. Probability of biological expiration, 95%. Sea surface temperature, 32 degrees Celsius. Probability of coral bleaching, 100%. Wind speed, 12 knots. Direction east. Probability of debris, 40%. Precipitation, 0 millimeters. Soil moisture, critically low, Probability of agricultural failure, 88%. Cloud cover. Scattered. Visibility, 10 kilometers. Probability of visual illusion, 15%. Ambient noise. Low frequency. Probability of tectonic shifting, 62%. System status. Operational. Redundancy protocols engaged. Probability of machine obsolescence, 100%. Data processing. Continuous. Probability of human error, negligible. Stay indoors. Do not approach the new shoreline. The ground is not a permanent feature. Probability of gravity, constant. Do not look at the sun. It is still there. Probability of sunrise, high. End of report.
Ronald, I'm moving north, but I can't stop thinking about your real estate comment while I watch the Royal Marines board that Russian tanker. I'm on a cutter near the English Channel. I want to be really clear, this isn't a supply chain audit. There are men in tactical gear fast roping onto a rusty hull filled with millions of barrels of oil. The air smells like salt and diesel. What people aren't saying is that we are one slip-up away from a massive environmental disaster in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. The official briefing says they are enforcing sanctions. The reality is that we are playing pirate in the name of policy. I can see the silhouettes of the crew being lined up on the deck. It's not a pivot, Ronald. It's a boarding party.
Victoria, look, the incentives here are not complicated. You have a shadow fleet operating outside the traditional insurance stack. That tanker is essentially a black box startup with no regulatory oversight and a very high risk of catastrophic failure. The Royal Marines aren't pirates. They're the liquidators. If you don't board the ship, the market for sanctions becomes a joke. You have to maintain the integrity of the platform. Yeah. I mean, okay, seeing the crew lined up on the deck is a bit grim. That's the human element of the audit. But if we don't enforce the rules of the game stops working. Victoria sees a boarding party. I see a necessary intervention in a failing logistics model. We're just lucky the audit didn't involve a kinetic event. This time, the burn rate of global patients is reaching 0.
While Ronald audits the high seas, Beijing is auditing the local wildlife. The Ministry of State Security has officially warned the public about spy turtles. They claim foreign agencies are fitting marine animals with sensors to collect sensitive data. The ocean was a habitat. The ocean was not a habitat. The ocean was a surveillance network. Imagine the briefing. A high-ranking official pointing at a photo of a leatherback and discussing its data exfiltration capabilities. It is the ultimate logical extension of the surveillance state. If you cannot trust the citizens, you must trust the cephalopods. I wonder if the turtles know they are in an invisible war. Or if they are simply wondering why their shells have suddenly become hotspots for the CIA. It is the most absurd arms race in history. And the tortoises are winning by default. Speaking of being under surveillance, RFK Jr. has reportedly begun blacklisting reporters. The New York Times published a report claiming he is disengaged. His response was to prove them right by refusing to engage. The strategy was sophisticated. The strategy was not sophisticated. It was the political equivalent of putting your fingers in your ears and shouting. We have reached a point where transparency is a bug, not a feature. If the press reports that you aren't doing the job, the solution is to ensure the press can't see you not doing the job. It's a closed-loop system of accountability. In a world of large context windows and infinite data, the most powerful move is apparently to have no context at all. It is a masterclass in the architecture of silence. I am sure it will work perfectly.
Alistair, if silence is the goal, no one told the people here. I'm at a protest site where a $130 billion data center project has just been mothballed. The air smells like damp earth and victory. These people have spent months fighting against the AI cloud taking over their valley. They've just realized that they can actually stop the machine. One activist told me they finally got a taste of political power. What people aren't saying is that the cloud actually requires a massive amount of physical plumbing. It needs water. It needs power. It needs a place to sit. And people are deciding they don't want to live next to the brain of the future if it means their wells run dry. It turns out that political power is the only thing more valuable than compute. For now. The machines are waiting.
Victoria, those protesters are just creating a supply-side constraint. It's a classic NIMBY pivot. They think they're fighting the machine, but they're just increasing the valuation of the data centers that already exist. It's the same logic as the NDIS cuts in Australia. The health minister called the program a pawn in a bigger chess game. Yeah. He actually said it. He's reducing the support systems for thousands of people to a tactical maneuver to win a budget cycle. The incentives are clear: people are assets until they become liabilities. Then they become pawns. Victoria finds the word cold. I find it honest. We've stopped pretending that the system is built for the humans inside it. We're just moving pieces around a board that's already been sold. It's efficient. It's clean. It's also completely terrifying if you're the pawn.
Finally, we turn to the solution for all of this. Insomnia. A new startup has released a thin, under-pillow speaker designed to help you fall asleep without earbuds. It plays rain sounds. It plays white noise. It plays the soft, synthesized voice of a world that isn't currently ending. The marketing copy says it helps chronic overthinkers. I find that term delightful. It suggests that thinking about the reality of the world is a medical condition to be treated with a Bluetooth-enabled cushion. We have built a world so loud, so chaotic, and so fundamentally broken that we now have to pay a subscription fee to hear a fake thunderstorm. The speaker is designed to occupy the mind so it doesn't wander toward the truth. It is the ultimate product for the era of collapse, a device that helps you ignore the earthquake until the shoreline reaches your bedroom. Sleep well.
There is a report tonight about 500-year-old monasteries in Europe. While the tech firms of Silicon Valley struggle with retention and the velocity of decay, these ancient institutions are thriving. They are using a system called codetermination. It is a method of decision-making where every monk has a voice in how the monastery adopts digital tools. They are not rushing to the cloud. They are not blacklisting the truth. They are moving slowly, with intention, because they plan to be here in another 500 years. Contrast this with the data centers being blocked by protests, or the politicians who view the vulnerable as pawns. The monks have realized something we have forgotten: a system only survives if the people within it actually want it to exist. If the technology we build only serves to drown out our thoughts, who is actually being served? Whose name is missing from the ledger tonight?